You are listening to Bible Plus. Yo, what's good, family? It's your boy, coming to you live and direct, and tonight we need to have a real talk. A heart-to-heart about that ghost that haunts the midnight hours, that heavy fog that rolls into your mind on a sunny afternoon, that thing we call anxiety. It's that knot in your stomach when you look at your bank account, that frantic pulse when you think about the future, that quiet, crushing weight that tells you you're not good enough, you're gonna fail, you're all alone in this fight. We all know the feeling, that static in your soul that drowns out the music of life. But I'm here to tell you tonight that you have an arsenal, an ancient and undefeated weapon against that noise. Words so powerful they can rewire your spirit and bring a peace that the world can't give and can't take away. So lean in close and let this sink in, because we're about to walk through the top 5 verses that are more than just ink on a page. They are a lifeline for the anxious heart, a fortress for the worried mind, starting with a heavyweight champion out of the book of Philippians chapter 4, verses 6 and 7. And it says this: "Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition with thanksgiving, present your requests to God, and the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus." Now, before you just nod and say you've heard that one before, you got to catch the context. You got to feel the reality of where these words came from. The Apostle Paul ain't writing this from a luxury suite on a beach vacation. He's writing this from a cold, hard prison cell. He's chained up, facing an uncertain future, with every worldly reason to be drowning in anxiety himself. And from that place of darkness, he's not saying I'm freaking out. He's saying don't be anxious. That hits different, right? This isn't a casual suggestion. It's a battle-tested strategy from someone in the trenches. He gives us a 4-step knockout combo for fear: prayer, petition, thanksgiving, and presentation. Think about it like this. I know this dude, a homie named Marcus, who got laid off from a job he'd had for 10 years. His whole world crumbled. The anxiety wasn't just a feeling. It was a monster sitting on his chest, whispering about foreclosure, about his kid's future, about how he was a failure. He was spiraling, lost in the what-ifs, until he stumbled across this verse. And he decided, right there in his garage at 2 a.m., to actually try it. He started talking to God, not some fancy prayer, but a real, raw conversation. That's the prayer part. Then he got specific. That's the petition. God, I need a new job. I need to pay my mortgage by the 1st. I need strength to face my wife without feeling like a loser. But then came the secret ingredient, the game changer. With thanksgiving, in the middle of his storm, he started thanking God for the 10 years he did have that job, for his healthy kids, for the breath in his lungs. It felt crazy thanking God while his world was on fire, but it shifted something in his spirit. It broke the cycle of panic. And then he did the final step. He presented his requests. He handed it all over. And Marcus told me, he said, "Bro, the problems didn't magically disappear. The bills were still there. But the panic, the crushing weight, it lifted. A calm that made absolutely no sense washed over me. I could breathe again. I could think again. That, my friends, is the peace of God which transcends all understanding. It's not the absence of a storm. It's the anchor in the middle of it. It's a peace that will stand guard over your heart and mind like a supernatural bodyguard, protecting you from the onslaught of fear. So when you feel that anxiety rising, don't just sit there and take the punches. You fight back with prayer, you get specific with your needs, you find something to be thankful for, and you hand that whole mess over to the one who can handle it. Next, we're gonna turn to 1 Peter chapter 5 verse 7. And this one is so beautifully simple and yet so profoundly powerful. It just says, cast all your anxiety on him because he cares for you. That's it. 7 words that can change everything. The key word here is cast. This ain't a gentle, polite handoff. The Greek word for it, *epiripto*, means to hurl, to throw something decisively and with force. Picture a fisherman casting a heavy net with all his might. Peter is telling us to take that heavy, tangled, messy net of our anxieties, our worries about our health, our family, our future, our past mistakes, and to hurl it, to fling it with everything we've got onto the strong shoulders of God. It's an act of violent surrender. I think of this young woman I met, a single mom named Jessica. She was juggling 2 jobs, online classes, and raising a toddler. The weight on her was immense, a constant, low-grade hum of anxiety that never shut off. She felt like she was carrying a backpack full of bricks every single second of the day. She was exhausted, not just physically, but spiritually. She told me she felt like she was complaining to God all the time, but nothing was changing. Then she read this verse, and the word cast jumped out at her. She realized she wasn't casting her anxiety. She was just describing it to God, holding onto it tightly while she talked about how heavy it was. So one night, she stood in the middle of her living room, closed her eyes, and literally mimed the action. She imagined pulling that heavy, invisible backpack off her shoulders, swinging it back, and hurling it into the heavens. She said she physically felt a lightness in her body, a release in her muscles she hadn't felt in years. Why? Because the verse doesn't just end with a command, it ends with a reason. Because He cares for you. That is the foundation of our faith. You're not casting your worries into a void. You're casting them into the loving arms of a Father who is intimately concerned with every detail of your life. He doesn't just tolerate you, He cares for you. He wants to carry that burden for you. So that anxiety you're carrying right now, that worry that's been your constant companion, it's time to stop touching it. It's time to cast it. Don't just talk about it. Don't just analyze it. Hurl it, throw it, release it. Because there is someone who cares for you and is strong enough to carry it. From there, we go straight to the words of Jesus Himself in the book of Matthew, chapter 6, verse 34. This is the ultimate call to be present, to live in the now. Jesus says, "Therefore do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own." This verse is like a spiritual reset button. So much of our anxiety is rooted in borrowing trouble from the future, stressing about things that haven't happened and may never happen. We play out 1,000 worst-case scenarios in our minds, and we suffer the emotional consequences of every single one of them. Jesus sees this and He offers us a way out. He's not telling us to be irresponsible or not to plan for the future. He's telling us to stop tormenting ourselves with the emotional weight of tomorrow. He's giving us permission to focus on one 24-hour block at a time. I saw this save a college student I was mentoring. His name was Kevin, and he was completely paralyzed by his final year. The pressure of his senior thesis, the fear of not finding a job, the weight of his parents' expectations, it was all a giant, terrifying fog of tomorrow that was choking the life out of him today. He couldn't even start writing his thesis because he was so anxious about the final grade. He was stuck. I shared this verse with him, and we broke it down practically. I asked him, "What is today's trouble? Not next semester's, not next year's. What's the trouble for today?" He thought about it and said, "I guess, writing the introduction." I said, "No, even smaller. Today's trouble is just opening the laptop and writing one paragraph. That's it. Win today." It became his mantra. Every morning he'd wake up and instead of being crushed by the mountain of the future, he'd ask, "What is today's trouble?" And he'd handle that one thing. He wrote one paragraph. The next day, he wrote another. Day by day, paragraph by paragraph, he conquered that thesis. He learned to stay on the battlefield of today. That verse freed him from the prison of tomorrow. And that line, "Each day has enough trouble of its own," is so real. Jesus isn't pretending life is easy. He's acknowledging that today will have challenges, but the grace He gives you is for today's challenges, not for tomorrow's. His strength is available in the now. So if you feel overwhelmed by the future, take a deep breath and bring your focus back to the here and now. Handle the trouble that's right in front of you, and trust that tomorrow's grace will be there for tomorrow's trouble. Now, sometimes anxiety isn't just a vague feeling. Sometimes it's a direct response to a massive, terrifying challenge standing right in front of us. That's when we need a different kind of word, a word that stiffens our spine and puts fire in our veins. And that word comes from Joshua, chapter 1, verse 9. This is God speaking directly to a man who has every reason to be terrified. Moses, The legendary leader is dead, and now Joshua has to fill his shoes and lead a nation to conquer a hostile land. The pressure is unimaginable, and this is what God says to him: "Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. For the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go." This is not a gentle pat on the back. It's a divine command. God is not suggesting Joshua feel brave. He is commanding Joshua to be brave. He's reminding him that strength and courage are not just emotions. They are decisions. They are actions you take in the face of fear. I shared this with a woman named Maria who was trapped in an emotionally abusive marriage. 4 years. The thought of leaving filled her with paralyzing anxiety. Her husband had convinced her she was weak, that she couldn't survive without him. Her fear was a cage. This verse became her anthem of liberation. She wrote it on her bathroom mirror. She whispered it to herself when her heart was pounding. The phrase, "Have I not commanded you?" became her focal point. It was no longer just her own idea to leave. It was a command from the Creator of the universe to be strong and courageous. It gave her an authority that her fear couldn't argue with. The promise, "The Lord your God will be with you wherever you go," meant that when she walked out that door, she wouldn't be walking alone. He would go with her into the uncertainty, into the lawyer's office, into the lonely nights of starting over. The courage she needed wasn't about the absence of fear. She was still terrified. Her courage was found in taking that first step and then the next while clinging to that promise. This verse is for you when you have to make that hard phone call, start that new business, leave the toxic situation, or face the diagnosis. Your strength isn't in your own ability. It's in the command and the presence of the one who is with you wherever you go. Finally, we arrive at maybe the most famous words ever written about walking through dark times. From the shepherd king David in Psalm 23, verse 4. "Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil, for you are with me, your rod and your staff, they comfort me." Life will inevitably lead us into some valleys. The valley of grief after losing a loved one, the valley of a grim medical diagnosis, the valley of betrayal, the valley of depression, where it feels like the sun will never shine again. David, who knew a thing or two about enemies and dark times, doesn't say if we walk through the valley. He says, "Though I walk." He knows it's a part of the human experience. But notice, he says we walk through it. We are not meant to set up camp in the valley. We are not meant to be stuck there forever. It is a path, and it has an end. The reason we can walk without fear is not because the valley isn't scary, but because of who is walking with us. For you are with me. That is the ultimate antidote to fear, divine presence. And he gets specific about what that presence feels like. "Your rod and your staff, they comfort me." A shepherd's rod was a heavy club used to fight off predators, lions, bears, wolves. It was a weapon of fierce protection. His staff was a long stick with a crook on the end, used to gently guide the sheep, to pull them back onto the path, to rescue them if they fell. This is the picture of God's presence in our darkest valleys. He is both a fierce warrior protecting us from the evil that wants to destroy us, and a gentle guide leading us, comforting us, and keeping us on the path. I think of an older gentleman whose wife of 50 years passed away. The silence in his home was a valley, a shadow of death that threatened to swallow him whole. He said this verse didn't magically take away his grief, but it gave him a way to navigate it. He would feel a wave of despair, the wolf of depression at the door, and he would cling to the promise of the rod, that God was protecting his mind from utter hopelessness. Then a friend would call, or he'd see a beautiful sunset, or a good memory would bring a smile instead of a tear, and he would recognize the gentle touch of the staff, guiding him, comforting him, reminding him that he was still being led forward. So, if you are in a valley right now, know this: you are not alone. The great shepherd is walking with you, fiercely protecting you and gently guiding you, and he will see you through to the other side. These 5 verses, family, are your spiritual toolkit. They are the truth you speak when the lies of anxiety get loud. From presenting your requests with a grateful heart, to hurling your worries onto a caring Father, to focusing on the strength available for today, to choosing courage because he commanded it, to walking through the darkest valleys with a shepherd who protects and guides you. This is your inheritance. This is your power. Don't let anxiety have the last word. You speak this truth, you breathe this truth, you live this truth, and watch how the peace that passes all understanding begins to stand guard over your life. Subscribe to